Did you know that if you sell goods or provide services under the GST law, there is a prescribed time limit by when you need to issue an invoice? A tax invoice is an important document as it evidences the supply of goods and services as well as enables the recipient to claim input tax credit. Hence, it is important for every supplier to issue an invoice to the buyer on time. By the end of this video, I will take you through the various time limits within which an invoice should be issued under the GST law. Hello and welcome. I'm Annapurna from the makers of ClearTax. It is India's largest tax and financial services platform. Clear serves more than 3,000 large enterprises and more than 4 lakh growing businesses. If you would like to get clear explanations of updates relating to GST, e-way bill, e-invoicing and much more, then do subscribe to our channel. Firstly, let's quickly understand what a GST invoice is. Under GST, a seller issues an invoice to the buyer that contains important information such as the name, the address and GSTIN of the seller, the date of issue, the name, address and GSTIN of the buyer if the buyer is registered under GST, then the HSN code of goods and services, the description of goods and services, taxable value of supply, applicable rates of tax, etc. A GST invoice is very important as it provides evidence of goods sold or services rendered by the supplier to the recipient. A GST invoice is also an essential document for the recipient to possess in order to avail input tax credit or ITC. Now, let's understand when an invoice should be issued in case of supply of goods under GST. Now, in case of supply of goods under GST, there can be two types of supplies: normal cases and continuous supply of goods. In the first type of supply, that is normal cases, the time limit for issuing invoice is on or before the date of removal or delivery of the goods. Let me give an example here for both these situations. Now, in case of movement of goods, a dealer, that is Mr. X from Delhi, has to supply 5 television sets to a client Mr. Y in Mumbai. Since the supply here involves the movement of goods, the invoice will need to be issued on or before the date of dispatch of consignment to Mumbai. Now, let me give you another example for the second instance, that is, in case there is no movement of goods. ABC Limited purchases a lift for its office building. The supplier Mr. Z is required to install the lift as part of the agreement of sale. Hence, in this case, the invoice has to be issued at the time when the lift is made available to the customer, that is Mr. ABC Limited. Now, coming to the second type of supply of goods, that is in cases of continuous supply of goods. In the case of continuous supply of goods involving successive statements of accounts or successive payments, the invoice must be issued on or before each such statement is issued or each such payment is received. Now, let's move on to the time limits for issuing invoices under GST for supply of services. But before I can proceed, if you have any GST queries you would like us to answer, then please drop them in the comment section of this video. Under supply of services, there are again two types of supplies that need to be borne in mind for issuing invoices. First one is normal cases and second one is continuous supply of services. Normal supplies can be further classified into general cases and banking companies or NBFCs. Let's take a look at the time limits under both. In general cases, an invoice is to be issued within 30 days from the supply of service. In cases of banks and NBFCs, an invoice is to be issued within 45 days from the supply of such service. So what about the cases where there is a continuous supply of services? Well, in such cases of continuous supply of services, then invoice is required to be issued in three different scenarios. First one, where the due date of payment is ascertainable from the contract, then invoice must be issued on or before the due date of such payment. Second case, where the due date of payment is not ascertainable from the contract, then the invoice must be issued before or at the time when the supplier of service receives the payment. Third case, where the payment is linked to the completion of an event, then the invoice must be issued on or before the date of completion of that event. Next, let us move on to the issue of invoices in cases where goods are sent on sale on approval basis. Where goods are sent on sale on approval basis, then the invoice should be issued before or at the time of supply or 6 months from the date of removal, whichever is earlier. Next, let's move on to the time limit for issuing credit notes and debit notes under GST. Here, the GST law states that the time limit for issuing credit note is on or before 30th September following the end of the financial year in which such supply was made or the date of filing relevant annual return in form GSTR 9 for the financial year, whichever is earlier. It is very important to note here that in Budget 2022, it was announced that the 30th September deadline has been extended to 30th November of succeeding year. However, it is subject to being notified by the CBIC. For the issuance of debit note under GST, there is no prescribed time limit given. Next, let's move on to the time limit for issuing payment voucher under GST. A payment voucher is issued by a registered person under GST law who is liable to pay tax on a reverse charge basis. The time limit for the buyer to issue payment voucher will be at the time of making payment to the supplier. Finally, let's now find out when a revised invoice is to be issued under GST. Here the GST law states that registered person is required to issue a revised invoice within 1 month from the date of issuance of certificate of GST registration against the invoice already issued between the effective date of registration and the date of issuance of certificate of registration under GST. Are you looking for an automated solution for your GST returns? Let me introduce you to India's leading GST software, Clear GST. Yes, it is India's most trusted GST filing platform. It offers users a host of exclusive features for error-free GST return filing. With ClearTax GST, you can connect with hundreds of ERPs and import data error-free. You can file all returns from GSTR 1 to GSTR 9C and many more made at least 3 times faster. Match 6,000 invoices in a minute and detect 100% tax credits with AI-powered matching. Get 2 to 7% tax savings with smart reconciliation and reports. Ensure 100% accurate returns with multiple validations at every step. Choose from a variety of smart analytical reports on tap. If you would like a demo of Clear GST filing software to understand how you can file error-free returns and get up to 7% tax savings, then please click on the link given in the video description below and enter your contact details. One of our product experts will get in touch with you to schedule a demo at your convenience. I hope you found this video useful and all your doubts on when to issue GST invoice is now clarified. Don't forget to click on the link given in the video description below to explore the Clear GST software. Also, if you found this video helpful, then please support us by subscribing to our channel. Thank you.